Hey everyone, this is Ken here, talking about how to photograph your 2D work. I'm actually not going to do a full demonstration about how to photograph 3D work. I think that the link that Daryl sent out in his email about the Juried Student Art Show does a really good job of talking about 3D work. So I'm mostly going to focus on the 2D part. So the first thing to know is I'm going to send you all a list here of hints about how to do this right. And rather than read through the list, I'm just going to hit a couple of the high points right now. The first reason why this is important, if you make a really amazing piece of art and you take a bad picture, meaning maybe the piece is a little bit out of focus, maybe you set the piece on the ground and you take a picture of it and your shoes are in the picture. Those kinds of things will disqualify something from getting into an exhibition. And it really is important, if you have the good work first, if the work is great, it really deserves to be photographed well. You want to put your best foot forward. So I just want to stress how important it is, and really this is the time, when you're in undergrad, this is the time to really pay attention to those kinds of things and develop some good habits about documenting your work, which includes not just the photographing of it, but how you put things in folders and how you organize things for the future, because you probably will use some of the images that you take here while you're in school, certainly to apply to grad programs and maybe other things a little farther down the road. So the way that I'm going to start tonight, this might get a little bit awkward at times, it probably already is, but I've got my iPad set up here on a stand, and I'm going to basically be moving around a little bit and showing you how to set up a camera. At the moment, I'm actually just going to use my phone because I figure many of you may have an iPhone or a tablet or something, some kind of device to work with. So I'm going to use my camera or my phone as an example. So I'm going to start off by moving you guys around a little bit and show you the setup here. I've got two lights that are aimed at almost at the edge of the painting. I'm starting with one of the more complicated things, which is a large painting. And so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and hit the overhead lights and get everything set up just to show you what it looks like. So the first thing that you want to do is make sure that you turn off the overhead lights. So one of the most important things about photographing work is to make sure that you control the lighting and that you don't have a mixture of different lights coming in that could potentially kind of confuse the color of the piece. So let's say you set your work up and there's outside light coming in from a window, and you have maybe warm tungsten lights like what we have here. That combination might kind of throw the coloring off in your camera. So I like to turn the overhead lights off, as you can see. So what we have here, we've got one light over here on this side. If I move this light in pretty close, like this, you can see that it creates a hot spot right here. Now, the light is so close right now that this might be a bit of an exaggeration. But the point is that when you're looking at the image, so of course you're going to be looking in this direction at the image, you want to pay attention and you want to make sure that the light is the same from one side of the painting to the other, or even from one corner of the piece to the other corner, to the opposite corner. And one way to tell that is by actually looking at the wall. So I'm going to move this light back out to where it should be. At the moment, the angle between the lamp and the wall is about maybe 15 or 20 degrees. If I move it closer to the front, let's say 45 degrees, just to show you, now I'm more in front like this, what's going to happen is I'm going to get that hot spot again. So the more I move over here, the more you're going to notice that there's going to be a reflection that comes off the surface of the work. So for that reason, when I have a piece that has a little bit of gloss on the surface like this one does, I like to move the light off to the edge of the painting, so that 10 or 15 degrees is about right. As you can see, I'm going to try to see if I can move this around. The other lamp is set just about the same at about 10 to 15 degrees off the painting. So as I'm looking at the wall right now, I'm asking the question, is the light the same down on this corner, up on this corner, over on this corner, and over here? Sometimes it's easiest to tell the lighting by looking at the wall. And right now I've got things pretty close. I just need to move this light back a little bit on this side, and I think we're probably going to be there. So now when I look at the piece, everything looks like it's pretty consistently lit. So the next thing is to set up the camera. Now, I have a tripod here. This is ideal. I mean, really ideal is to have a 35 millimeter digital SLR. That's going to give you the best image that you could possibly get. But the reason for the tripod is that when you set your camera or your phone up to take a picture of the work, so as you can see, I've got my phone here. I'll move it over a little bit closer like this. So I've got my phone here, and everything looks pretty good. Now, if I didn't have the tripod here, and I tried to take a picture just by holding it, then what's going to happen is I'm likely to get a little bit of a blurred image. So let me see if what I just said is actually true. And the image might be, it's a little hard to see. It's a little bit blurry. And the closer I get, or the larger I make this image, if I wanted to print it out or whatever, it's going to show that blurring even more. So the object is to have something to steady your hand. So now if I have this, I can simply set it on the tripod, and now when I take a picture, it's going to be rock steady. So if you don't have a tripod, then just find something that you can rest your hand on. So if you grab an easel from the painting studio, that would work. You could use even something like a chair. So, rest your hand on the chair like this, take your picture. Okay, the next thing that I want to talk about, and I'll use my camera or my phone again for this. The next thing is called keystoning. So what you want is you want your camera to be parallel to the surface of the work. And if it starts to tilt, what's going to happen is you're going to get what's called keystoning, which means that the sides of the artwork are going to angle in. It can be fixed by Photoshop, but if you have everything set up properly at the beginning, it's going to just make things a lot easier for you. So this is, maybe one of the more complicated things to take to photograph, a large painting that has texture, that has gloss. The way that I have the light set up right now, this will also work for other kinds of artwork. So if I take this painting down, now that I have the light set up, I could put a smaller piece in its place. So now I've got a tiny painting here. I've got the nail in the wall, which, by the way, When you photograph your artwork, I'm in the critique room right now, and the critique room is the room that's between the drawing studio and the painting studio. It's a smaller room. I'll have these lights set up in the critique room for you to use, as well as there will be a hammer and some nails, and I'm going to try to keep this room open for you guys for the next few days before the juried student art show, before everything becomes due. So if you have a piece that has a backing like this, you might need a nail. So if the piece is heavy, you might need a nail. The important thing to know about putting a nail in the wall, use the smallest nail that you can. So I have a really skinny finish nail right now. And when you put the nail into the wall, it should angle down like this, so that it'll hang the weight of the piece nicely. If you ever put a nail in straight like this, then when you hang the piece on the nail, it's likely to fall off. It'll bend the nail down. But if it's up at an angle like this, then it hangs really well. The same thing is true of push pins. Always angle a push pin down into the wall. So if I hang this piece up here, even though the lights are pretty far away, you'll see that the actual lighting on the piece is still pretty consistent. So the goal here, or the idea is, if you have several pieces that you want to photograph, start with the largest piece first, and then gradually get smaller until you're finished photographing. Another hint, and these things are going to be covered on in the handout. Another hint is to take several pictures, like maybe take about three pictures or so of, once you have all the lights set up where you want them, take about 3 pictures. And I always find that something happens. I didn't realize that the camera jiggled a little bit or something like that. And it'll give you, more likely to get the perfect picture when you kind of bracket it that way. That is about it. So if you have any questions about this, I'm going to leave some of these photography handouts in the critique room. So you'll have it in a printed form as well as emailed to you. If you have questions for me after looking at all this, you can find me in the painting studio, and or in my office, or just send me an email, and I can help you out if you're having any problems or issues. So I hope this helps. I hope you get something out of this, and I hope you're able to get some great images, and good luck for submitting things for this juried student art show. All right, have a good one.